On This is Nashville today with Korey and Dave, we have Bree, who is a singer and also the name of the band. And we actually discovered Bree a couple weeks ago at the RAW Nashville Show. And it was a pleasant surprise, really, to know that rock and roll is still alive in Nashville and that the good-looking girls are playing Flying V's, playing with upright bass players and rocking the crowd out. So we are excited today to talk to Bree. Bree, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. So we're going to talk about your experiences here in Nashville, your experiences as a singer, and all kinds of fun things. So I guess we'll get started off with, have you lived in Nashville your entire life, or did you move here from somewhere else?
I've been living here for 2 years, and I moved here from Palm Springs, California. So I'm from Oregon, but I moved here from Palm Springs.
Wow. So Oregon to California to Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, how does one end up from sunny California to, I guess, Nashville?
Yeah, you were obviously in California where there's L.A., and then you chose Nashville over L.A.
Well, the scene in L.A. is not even close to how good of a scene is here in Nashville. Not even close. I mean, it's actually dwindled down quite a bit since, the 80s. So Nashville, I believe, is truly music city and is the music capital of the nation, with Austin second. I'm absolutely happy to be here. It's surprising because it's not just strictly country town anymore. Mm-hmm. Now we've got every genre. People here, they just like good music.
Yeah, I remember. I'm originally from Michigan. When I came down here, when I found out I was going to move down here, I was just like, "Oh, I'm going to be hanging out with Grandpa Jones off of Hee Haw and all this type of things." And then obviously, when you get down here, it's not really like that. As we're speaking right now, CMA Fest is going on, and I used to work downtown doing valet for 7 years. And the people, just the tourists coming through, they think that they come in here and they're wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots, thinking that's what we wear here. But there's actually really, truly none of that going on here, really,
Yeah, I know. That's how we know that you're not from here, is if you come to Nashville with a cowboy hat.
Exactly.
So true.
So you've got a very interesting story, just from the little research we have. Korey's a research machine over here. And I listened to another interview you did. You were, as if I heard the interview correct, you were part of a cult, or your family was growing up. And
yes.
You were homeless.
Yeah, my dad is a pastor of a cult, a religious cult in out of Junction City, Oregon, and it was the worst way to grow up. It was not fun.
So I've read Rivers Cuomo was in a cult for many years with his brother, and he was not exposed to any music during that time. Like, they kind of cut him off from music. Did you have that same experience growing up? Were you allowed to listen to any music?
Our family was very passionate about music. I was very, very restricted on what I could listen to. I wasn't allowed to listen to secular radio, only like Christian rock and then Christian stations. However, when I was hanging out alone with my dad, all we do was listen to classic rock.
Wow.
I got a really good rock and roll education. I remember being a toddler, swinging my feet and rocking out to, Humble Pie.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you, you're relatively young. 23, 24, is that right?
Yeah, 23. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so compared to us, you're young. We're in our mid-30s. But, I was going to ask you, your music is, it's kind of like an old soul playing that music. And I was going to ask you, how did you get that? Was that influence from your parents or what? So I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. My influences range from the 1950s to, current artists. I love music in general, but my heart has always been in rock and roll. I've always been into the Supremes and Janis Joplin, The Who, Humble Pie, Aerosmith, Green Day, Eddie Cochran, Buddy Holly. I have tons of influences. Of course, the Beatles. They're the kings.
Yes,
of course.
All the good stuff.
Course, yeah. Beatles, of course, are the king. I don't know if Korey agrees with that, but I definitely do. So.
I like them.
And my vocal influence is Patsy Cline.
I can hear that, yeah, for sure. So you were exposed to this life. were you allowed to, I don't know how deep you were in the cult, but were you allowed to go into a public school setting, or was all this done in...
Well, it was allowed. They pulled me out of public school in 3rd grade. And so I was homeschooled from 3rd grade all the way out. So I was really put in this bubble. And, I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. I wasn't allowed to go to dances because it was too sexual. I mean, my father believed his very small group of churches, there's 3 total, in 3 different states, he believes his church is the only one going to heaven and that the rest of the world is going to hell. I mean, he's intense. And, they believe in faith healing. And my mother passed away when I was 6 from swallowing a needle while she was crafting. And, being 6 years old and watching your mother die slowly over a period of only a few months was, it was very, very, it opened my eyes to what was going on. Even at that young age, I thought, wow, if I get sick, my dad will let me die. And I knew at a very young age that I had other bigger plans.
Exactly. So is this cult still around today? Does it have a name?
It's called the Church of the Firstborn, and it's in Oregon, and it's still happening. I had a cousin in December who joined the cult and shunned her father completely, and now, she will never speak to him again.
Wow.
It's very heavy stuff, and it's still tearing my family apart and affecting other families, and it's a part of my history, and I want people to know that stuff's out there. It's very real,
Exactly. Well, yeah. It sounds crazy, like you said. you get sick, you're done. So.
Well, I know Dave actually is really interested in religion and all this stuff. He actually works downtown, and I don't know, a few times you've gone to the Scientology building over there, and kind of went in there, and they're kind of pretty guarded and weird about that kind of stuff too. I don't know if you're into that or know about that, but
no. I'm very open-minded now.
I was actually trying to segue into getting off of this because Dave we could do 30 minutes on the cult and all this stuff. I was trying to get away from this, Dave.
Yeah, let's talk about the music. It's more fun anyway.
Exactly. Well, when did you first string up a guitar and hit a chord and just feel like the rock and roll? Do you remember that moment in your life when you thought, yeah, I can do this?
Oh my goodness. Well, as a little kid, I wanted to be the lead singer and guitarist of a rock band. So when I was 13, I saved up all my money and I bought an Epiphone SG. And it was candy apple red with a black pickguard, and I just was in love with it. And I didn't know a ton about the guitar, but I figured it out. And I think the real moment was, receiving that, the smell when you open the case the first time, and, that kind of stuff. But really, whenever I first plugged into my Marshall, my 50-watt Marshall, that's when it really hit me in the gut. And I was just like, oh, my goodness. I could hear this every day of my life and just die happy.
It's a wonderful feeling having a Gibson and a Marshall, because I've had that as well. And it's really hard to explain to someone how, even when you say the smell of the guitar, it's really awesome, So, that moment probably was liberating as well. So when did you start, I guess, writing songs? When did you start kind of seriously playing guitar?
Well, I would say about 3 years ago. I really started that's all I did. Every day, I would literally spend hours a day playing guitar and just writing and writing and writing. And it was so much fun. And I still write as much as I can. I play guitar every day. I always sing every day. We're always rehearsing. But 3 years ago, I got really into it, really serious about it, to the point where I went and cried a few songs. We're already halfway writing the second album.
So what made you choose to play the Flying V? Because that's an interesting guitar, especially for a female to play. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Well, it's really, to me, it's not only sexual, but I love the fact it's extremely lightweight. It's actually the lightest electric guitar out there. And I just have always loved the look. It's I think they're gorgeous. And I remember going to the guitar store, and the only thing I kept going back to were the Flying V's. I'm like, oh, I love the Gibson Les Paul. I like Fenders. Those are cool, but the V just totally, I feel like it's my personality.
Yeah, I played a Flying V for a little bit, and it was too lightweight for me. I preferred, of course, Les Paul, but I can see how that works, and hearing it on stage and the tone you get out of it, they are really great guitars. But like I said, I just couldn't get comfortable with it was kind of just a weirdness after holding a Les Paul for a while. But it definitely works in your favor, and it does. It looks awesome. It's a striking image on stage. So you definitely found something really awesome there.
And having said that, do you think Bree is the only band to have a flying V and an upright bass in it?
I would say that's safe to say. Bree, do you know of any other bands?
I don't. I haven't seen it yet. If there is,
So
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm sure you get this a lot, and you got the upright bass. The first thing people are thinking, especially with your look, I'm sure they're thinking, oh, here's another rockabilly band, which was kind of
we get
big.
that all the time.
I mean, how do you, is that really, especially as that picked up in popularity over the last couple of years, have you had people come up to you after a show and even,
Oh, after a show, they don't call me rockabilly.
Exactly. Yeah,
Once
yeah.
you see me perform, I think that's like the last thing they're thinking at the point. When probably before the show, before I hit that first power chord, they're probably like, hey, cool, pretty cool rockabilly act. But at the end, I don't think nobody has ever come up to me and been like, yeah, that was a great rockabilly. So,
Yeah. No, it's definitely, yeah.
no, they know it's rock and roll.
Exactly. Well, if anyone's heard you live or even, online, you're definitely hardcore rock and roll. I mean, how did you find the guys in your band? Were they come with you from California? Did you find them when you came to town?
No, David. I met David on my 21st birthday in Palm Springs, and we just totally connected musically. I mean, we had the same ideas going and just clicked. He's a fabulous drummer. And we moved here in July of 2011, and then by October, we found my bassist, Mark McNeely. Within seconds, literally, when we, just the beginning of a song. I played this song I wrote for him, Forbidden Fruit. Played that for him one time, and then the second time we played it, he jumped in like he knew how to play the whole thing. He's incredible. And I just knew. It was amazing. And we're all so close and really good friends. Like a family.
So I think I was reading last night, your drummer actually, and I think is your official website Nashville.com?
Yeah, Nashville.com/Bree.
Because, I mean, that's like insane. Because I was just reading something. I found some random article might have been, I don't know, from a year or two ago, just saying that your drummer, what's your drummer's name? I can't remember his name.
David Costello.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess him and his brother are into buying domains or something. But anyways, he owns Nashville.com. Yeah. That is unreal, because when we went to go buy, thisisnashville.com, it was not available. So we actually got thisisnashville.info. So it's just amazing. I don't even know when he bought that. But that's the coolest website ever to have.
I know. They were really ahead of the times on that. I'm really glad he did get that name, because it's helped us a lot. And that's a really good place to go to find out all the information about our shows and all the press and videos.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I guess I'd be remiss not to mention that you have a CD release party coming out June 18th, right? Yes,
June 18th is whenever our album will be released on the streets. It'll be sold in Best Buys and FYEs and all the places online like Amazon and so on. So we're so excited. I just cannot wait. I can't believe how close it's coming.
It's coming close. June got here really fast this year. So you got a show that you're going to play that night, or what's going on?
Well, we already had our CD release party for our Nashville friends last month at the Mercy Lounge, and we had a great turnout. Everyone got a CD, and close to 300 people showed up.
Awesome.
Which is incredible. So it was a really awesome night. We all had a blast. But the next show is July 26th, and it's my birthday bash.
Wow,
and that's at the Mercy Lounge.
Is that going to be at the Mercy Lounge also?
That's right.
Speaking of Mercy Lounge, I think, was that RAW Nashville? Was that at, I get confused, was that at the Cannery?
Well,
I get confused.
Well, there are 3 different venues in that whole building. There's the Cannery, which is the biggest one there, and then there's Mercy Lounge, which is the second largest, and then the smaller one is the High Watt.
Oh.
And usually at first, last year, all the RAW events were at the Mercy Lounge, but now, since they've been growing so much, they now do the RAW thing at the Cannery Ballroom.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So I played both for RAW.
So we'll talk about
that was fun.
Talk about, you won the RAW Nashville Musician of the Year for 2012. Talk about that for a minute. Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, that was crazy, because whenever they contacted me to even be in one of the shows, I couldn't believe when we got the call, because I had only been playing for a little while. My first show was last year, June 26th. So I'd only had like 4 shows total, and they asked me to play RAW. And then I was notified that we were voted into one of the top 5, nominees for Musician of the Year. And I was like, what? Nobody even really knows me. I'm a new kid in town, like, I felt honored just to be a nominee,
Sure.
So we didn't expect anything of it. We were like, okay, well, we didn't even ask our friends to, vote for us whenever we knew that there was going to be a competition. So we showed up just like wanting to have fun, and just kick butt, just have a good time. And, I got to play 4 songs, and I loved all the other nominees. I loved all the other bands. They were great. But I was the only rocker nominee, and I was completely blindsided when they announced my name.
Yeah, that Nashville RAW is pretty cool, man. That was the first time when we saw you. I guess that was a couple months now. That was the first time Dave and I had ever been there, and we had a good time, man. It was pretty cool. All the different artists.
Okay. Oh, did you go to the one at the Cannery?
Yes, we were there.
Oh, yes. That was such a fun show. That stage is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, we were there front row, so we definitely. I mean,
sweet.
And we both been in bands for a while ourselves. We were, and we both been to tons of shows. And for us to come up to the front of the stage,
sure.
It's actually something we actually were interested in hearing, because there's tons of bands that night. Hopefully, none of them listening, because I didn't really listen to the other ones. But we definitely were there. We checked out your entire set. So about your album. About your album here. Now, how did you make the album? Analog, digital?
Digital. Yeah, we record everything live, us 3. It's very raw and very honest.
That's the way to do it.
We don't like all that extra fancy stuff, tracks and all that. We don't do that. You'll hear an occasional, harmony, maybe a little bit of guitar ear candy every once in a while, but we keep it very raw in the studio, very real. And see, that's how rock and roll should be.
Oh, exactly. I agree. That's how I always record it, and that's the only way you can do it, in my opinion, man. All this other stuff going back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess you can overdub a little bit, I guess, if you're a vocalist and you can't hang or something like that. I don't know, but...
I mean, the Beatles overdubbed, but who's counting? But,
hey, I'm not.
But what do you find yourself writing about? I mean, I can imagine you probably fallen in love a couple of times, people falling in love with you. Is that a lot of themes?
Yeah. I've been through a lot of crap. I mean, lots of it. I mean, good stuff and bad stuff, and I learn from it, and I get a great song out of it. And I write all my songs by myself. That whole album I wrote it. So, I mean, I write what moves me. If something really moves me emotional, or if I experience something, sometimes I just get that itch and I have to talk about it.
Now, what's your first single?
Is it Whiskey?
Whiskey.
That was the first song. Yeah, we made the music video for that. This album is going to be titled Bree, All American Girl.
Nice. And what's it like shooting that kind of? I mean, I watched the video the other day, and it's a pretty cool little video. Where'd you shoot that at? And tell us a little bit about the song itself, because it seems like there's some interesting lyrics going on there.
Yes. Well, that was shot at the Standard Ballroom, which is here in downtown Nashville, and it's one of the oldest standing townhouses in Nashville. It's amazing, and the family owning it was kind enough to let us use the ballroom for the shoot. I really love all the red, and it's a cigar bar and private club, and I'm very passionate about cigars. And the song Whiskey was about a very, very dysfunctional relationship I had, where, the guy I was seeing only wanted me whenever he was drinking whiskey, or drunk for that matter. So, it wasn't that great for the self-esteem. That definitely sucked, but, it made everything I sing about is completely autobiographical. And it was all true, and it made for a good song.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you were just
you'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have your experiences that you had, and you were just happy-go-lucky and everything was perfect, what would you actually have to sing about? Oh, my life's so great, it's wonderful. My boyfriend treats me awesome. I mean, how fun is that?
Exactly. No, the best songs I was writing when I was writing were bad situation
Right.
songs were always the best. Your 20s are all about bad relationships, so you should be. You're at your prime stage
Prime
to.
time.
I know. And, I'm still growing and I'm still going to mess up a lot, so I'll have plenty to write about.
Exactly.
Oh,
You got
sure.
albums to go of bad relationships. So
So
Oh yeah, I feel like I don't think I'll ever run out of things to write about. I'm always experiencing. I'm always out and about, and I just don't see. I mean, it's what I do.
Sure. So
And not being raised in a super happy family, I have to admit it really helps my songwriting. It really made me who I am today, a frisky redhead.
exactly. So let me ask you this. I don't know if you've ever been asked this question before, but is it easier or harder being a female rocker?
That is a very interesting.
Because on one
question.
hand, you're a good-looking female rocker, so people may be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check this out." But on the other hand, maybe like, "Oh, it could be the opposite. Oh, I don't like women sing or whatever. It's got to be Axl Rose or something like that. You know what I'm saying? A guy who looks like a female."
I don't personally. I'm not struggling. I mean, no. If people like my music, I want them to come to my show. If they don't like it, they don't have to like me.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I think a lot of people, because I am a female rocker and I'm, sporting and flying, Gibson flying V and, rocking out on Marshall, I think it makes people want to come to the show because they're curious. It's just a pretty, they're always going to just strum a few chords on her guitar and just play pretty music, or, or is she really going to rock? And I think that once people hear me, they like me. I always get really good feedback. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's hard being a female rocker. No. I think it's more interesting. I like to surprise people.
have you had any interesting stalkers yet? Interesting fans,
Oh,
Bizarro
my
fans?
goodness.
Yeah, I would, right?
I recently had a guy on Facebook he would write one word a day.
Wow.
And it's like, and then it would, at the end of the week, it would make a sentence.
Seriously? Wow. I guess, yeah.
I was like, okay, that was strange. It comes to a point where I don't even know what to write back. I'm very friendly. If a guy writes me, he's like, oh, I love your music, and they compliment me. I'll be like, oh, thank you so much. I try to be kind. Every once in a while, I get a creepy message, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I've had some interesting things.
I'm sure you've got interesting tales. You'll probably have more as you go along. I mean, that's definitely an aspect that most guys don't ever have to deal with. So that is a different aspect. I mean, and I guess you're in a band with two guys, so it's not that big of a deal. But still, I'm like say it. Maybe that'll make for an interesting song. Maybe you can sing
It's interesting.
yeah.
Sometimes it's sweet. The last show for our CD release, there was a couple guys who came up to me who were so nervous. They were sweating so bad and could hardly talk. And I'm like, it's okay. Calm down. Don't be scared. I mean, it was endearing, but it made me feel really bad. I'm like, crap. I want people to feel comfortable around me.
Well, I mean, you just probably got to deal with that for a while. Like you say, you just have to tell them it's cool, it's all right. You can come talk to the girl singing the songs. But it is. I mean, you're up on a stage, so you're already above people. Number one, then you're attractive, like you say. You're playing a flying V. You're rocking out. Guys are going crazy with all this information. It's like information overload. So you can imagine it's a lot to process for these maybe shy guys anyway. So, but it's cool, like you say. You're real friendly with your fans, and you're pretty active.
Always.
On Facebook? Are you active on any other social media sites?
Oh, yes, I am. I have a Facebook page, and it's facebook.com/Bree Music. And I also I've got Instagram, and I'm on Twitter, and they both have the same handle. It's @BreeFlyingV. So give me a follow. I'll follow back. I always do so.
There you go. Guys, there you go. Just don't get creepy with it. Don't be writing one letter, one word responses for a whole month. That's weird.
Oh, my goodness.
So we got the album coming out, and we got everybody knows how to get in touch with you. I mean, is this something, I guess, I'm assuming, but is this something you're going to be doing hopefully for a long, long time? Do you see yourself staying in Nashville, or do you ever see yourself moving
I
anywhere
think
else?
Nashville's always going to be home base for me. I love it here. And then, my dream is to live in, Midtown Manhattan someday too. So I want to be able to bounce back and forth. And I just really want to I want to get on the road.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's the next step. That's the next thing we're working on is working on a tour. So that's all I want to do. I just want to play every night.
Well, I'll tell you were in Nashville at the right time, because when Dave and I were playing, I started playing in the early 90s around Nashville, Middle Tennessee. And at that point in time, there had literally never been a rock band to come out of Nashville that actually made it.
Wow.
And now, you got Paramore and all these other bands that...
Yeah, Kings of Leon.
Mm-hmm. Bands like that have came out. So you are at the right time. I mean, sometimes every day of my life, not really, I'm just kidding, but I'm like, I think back, it's like, hey, if I was playing nowadays, I mean, maybe things would have been a little bit different. I don't know. So you were in Nashville at the exact right time.
I would like to think that. I feel like it. It feels good. I mean, this city has been so good to us. We're really happy to be here, and you'd be surprised. There's some amazing rock and roll happening in this place. I mean, you just gotta search it out, and it's mostly about socializing and knowing where all the good bands are going.
Very nice, man. Well, tell people once more where they can find your website, your Facebook, ways they can get in touch with you, ways they can get the album, because, I mean, people after hearing this are going to want to check it out for sure.
I sure hope they do. Yes, Nashville.com/Bree has all my information, all of my press and photos and videos, and don't be afraid to say hi on Twitter and Instagram, and my handle is @BreeFlyingV. And don't forget about my CD, June 18th. It'll be out in stores, and you can order it. And also, All American Girl is available on iTunes right now.
That's right. Yeah, so one more time, June 18th, that All American Girl is available. Last night I was checking it out on iTunes. I saw that was going to be available there. You can pre-order it. So that's good, man. We wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you so much. You guys have been really fun to talk to.
Great. Well, we'll definitely have you back on again.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, boy.